Hi there, happy Sunday. I'm Reverend Kathy, and I'm from Unity North Spiritual Center in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Welcome to our Sunday lesson on August 9th, 2020. So let me just begin with a few announcements, and then I'll move into our daily word followed by the lesson. So first of all, check out our website, unitynorthmn.org. There are upcoming events there, as well as this Sunday lesson will be posted later, and there are past ones, as well as my weekly letter. So keep track of us on our website at this time through this period of closure. It's a great time to go on there, and that's where we receive our donations as well. So we give thanks in advance for your gifts and offerings. They are a blessing to us. And so I'll mention Good For You Day, and we're calling Good For You Days because it will be more than one day this year, starting September 18th. That's a Friday evening with an opening class that I will teach on dreams, the transformative power of dreams. And then through that week, there will be virtual healings and virtual classes, and it's going to be an exciting time for Good For You Day. And we're not doing it in person live this year just because we want to keep people safe, because there's such close contact in healing experiences. So check out that. And then we have I have my angel class starting. It just started Thursday. There's 2 more classes left, so you're still welcome to come if you'd like. And I think that's it for now. Just check out our website. And let's begin with our daily word. The word today is appreciation. I am grateful for the good in my life. Today I take time to appreciate the abundance that surrounds me. I notice the beauty of the natural world, the talent and dedication behind the music and art I enjoy, and the skill and commitment of the people who work to maintain a safe and orderly world. The more I focus my attention on everything I have to appreciate in my life, the more I notice even more blessings. I'm eager to share the gift of appreciation, so I give my full attention to someone I care about as we share a meal or a favorite activity or simply a quiet moment together. Feeling grateful for my life's blessings, I feel renewed appreciation for the love and beauty that enriches my life. And from Luke 10:23, then turning to the disciples, Jesus said to them privately, "Blessed are the eyes that see what you see." So we continue throughout this week to see our blessings. And so it is. So the lesson today is called Finding God. Sometimes it feels like God is hiding from us. Some Eastern traditions speak of God as playing hide and seek, that God is within every aspect of creation, but that once we enter the earth plane, we forget. The Sufi mystics say that our essential self, God, is hidden from us by 100,000 veils of illusion, and that we must take a massive journey to disidentify with everything that we have falsely learned about ourselves. It's all Maya or illusion. But in Unity, we teach that waking up is more than just realizing that this outer appearance of the world is illusion. Rather, we are placed here as a seed of the divine within time and space and matter to unfold all of our divine powers and capacities within. We do this not to escape the illusion of creation, but to divinize ourselves and all of life. Those are words from Andrew Harvey, the great mystic and scholar. To realize our divinity and then express it in the world is what we are here to do. There's an amazingly inspired painting by a German artist, Rosenthal, entitled The Blessing of Work. It depicts a young boy carving a life-size picture of the Virgin Mary. And the almost completed figure towers above the young artist. And while he works intently carving the details of the feet, Mary looks down upon him with love and with outstretched arms blessing him. So while he is giving himself in the creative flow, he is dynamically receiving immeasurably in return. The painting reveals much more. Light is streaming through the open window, its rays bathing him with an aura of illumination. On a large plaque on the wall, a heavenly choir is singing songs of praise directly toward him. By his side, there is what we assume is a picture of his mother, which he's using for a model, and with hands clasped in devotion, she's blessing him. Thus, the whole tone of the work suggests that the entire universe is rushing, streaming, pouring into the boy, while he quietly gives himself in creative effort. You know, this is a wonderful image because the whole universe is rushing, streaming, pouring into each one of us with its unlimited possibilities while we express in creative effort. It is a great dance of giving and receiving. You know, I've been thinking about one of the benefits of the pandemic we are in is certainly the creativity that's coming forth in so many ways. I love to see it. For example, I talked to my son, Chris, who lives in Santa Rosa, the other day, and he was telling me that he and his wife, Melanie, decided to do something fun and different for the girls. So now they're having what they call Travel Tuesdays. And so every Tuesday they make something different, something for dinner from a different country of the world. And they spend time making it together, or else they pick it up at a restaurant in certain cases. And then they talk about that country during dinner. So their first week they did Spain, and they spent some time in the afternoon making caramel flan and paella and some other dishes. And then they had a great night at dinner, enjoying it and talking about it. And then this past week, they, past Tuesday, I guess, they went to the Himalayas, and he told me they were going to climb Mount Everest before they had their dinner. So just one example of the wonderful creativity going on. Author Andrew Harvey said, in one sense, we can think of the spiritual path as a marvelously witty joke, knowing that we are looking for something we already have and already are. So finding God, we are looking for what we already are and what we already have. Andrew Harvey goes on to say, we take our journeys not only to become conscious of God within us, but to be filled with sacred passion and power and become so saturated with its energy and love that we can become agents with God in a massive transformation of all the conditions of creation. If you knew Andrew Harvey, you would know those words sound just like him. He's just filled with that passion and fire. So we take our journeys to find our personal divinity and discover it was there all the time. A grandfather said to his 6-year-old granddaughter, "I'll give you a quarter if you can tell me where God is." The young but very wise girl replied, "I'll give you 2 quarters if you can tell me where God is not." One of the best ways we can discover God's power in our lives is through surrender, what we might call falling into God. So what about this idea of falling? Who wants to fall anyway? Why did they ever use the word fall to describe being in love, falling into love? It does remind one of the Fool card in the tarot deck, where the fool's about to step off the cliff, but is looking up, smiling innocently. So we step or fall off the cliff, oblivious to the fact there may or may not be a net to catch us. So falling takes us by surprise. It involves surrender. We may get hurt. We may feel protected and fortunate, or sometimes both, hurt and fortunate. Falling may be a surprise when we step off the cliff by risking, and yet we fall into the arms of the divine. God is often described as having comforting arms. And though in unity we do not think about God anthropomorphically, as having human traits, literally, sometimes we just have to use metaphors for God. God has been described as Father, as masculine energy, as protector, as a powerful fire, a great wind, a Holy Spirit, the breath of life, a mighty King, great creator, sovereign majesty, Jehovah Elohim, omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. And God has been described as mother, as a soaring mother eagle, a gathering mother hen, a midwife, a ferocious mother bear, Shekinah, feminine wisdom, Sophia, queen of heaven, the source of all life, the goddess in all her forms, a woman in labor, compassionate counselor. These are only a few descriptions. And our definition, the story we tell ourselves about God from our own experiences, informs our ability to fall into God, into the divine arms, which is to surrender to God's will for absolute good in our lives. Christian mystic Julian of Norwich lived in England in the 14th century. She asked God directly why he had created the world, and the answer came back to her in ecstatic whispers. "You want to know your Lord's meaning and what I have done? Know it well. Love was his meaning. Who reveals it to you? Love. What did he reveal to you? Love. Why does he reveal it to you? For love." For Julian, God was something to eat, drink, breathe, and see everywhere, as though she were an infatuated lover. Yet since the divine was her lover, she was elevated to cosmic heights, where the whole universe was, she said, a little thing the size of a hazelnut lying in the palm of my hand. What a cosmic experience that had to be. In unity, we are panentheistic. We believe that we are in God and God is in us, like the wave is in the ocean and the ocean is in the wave. And so Julian, like Julian, we teach God is everywhere. And most of all, that God is love. Meister Eckhart, the great German mystic, addressed the idea of the mysterious God in hiding who is love. He said, "God is like a person who clears his throat while hiding and so gives himself away. God lies in wait for us with nothing so much as love. Now, love is like a fish hook. A fisher cannot catch a fish unless the fish first picks up the hook. If the fish swallows the hook, no matter how it may squirm and turn, the fisher is certain of the fish. Love is the same way. Whoever is captured by love takes up this hook in such a fashion that foot and hand, mouth and eyes, heart, and all that is in that person must always belong to God. Therefore, look only for this fish hook, and you will be happily caught. The more you are caught, the more you will be liberated. So we search for the fish hook, the love of God. And where do we find it? "Excuse me," said a little ocean fish to another fish. "You're older than I, so can you tell me where to find this thing they call God?" Or, sorry, let me start over. The little ocean fish said, "You're older than I, so can you tell me where to find this thing they call the ocean?" "The ocean," said the older fish, "is the thing you are in now." "Oh, this? But this is water. What I'm seeking is the ocean," said the disappointed fish as he swam away to search elsewhere. A man came to the master in sannyasi robes, and he spoke a different language, sannyasi language. "For years, I have been seeking God. I've sought him everywhere that he's said to be, on mountain peaks, the vastness of the desert, the silence of the cloister, and the dwellings of the poor." "Have you found him?" the master asked. "No, I have not. Have you?" Well, what could the master say? The evening sun was sending shafts of golden light into the room. Hundreds of sparrows were twittering on a nearby banyan tree. In the distance, one could hear the sound of highway traffic. A mosquito droned a warning that it was going to strike. And yet this man could sit there and say he had not found God. After a while, he left, disappointed, to search elsewhere. There isn't anything to look for. All we have to do is look. Some children wrote some letters to God, and these are classics. They've been around a while. Lucy wrote, "Dear God, are you really invisible, or is that just a trick?" Nan wrote, "Dear God, who draws the lines around the countries?" Good question. "Dear God, if you watch in church on Sunday, I will show you my new shoes," signed Mickey D. Norma's letter said, "Dear God, what did you mean for the giraffe to look like that, or was it an accident?" This one I love. "Dear God, I think the stapler is one of your best inventions." And Nora wrote, "Dear God, I don't ever feel alone since I found out about you." And finally, Charles said, "Dear God, I do not think anybody could be a better God. Well, I just want you to know, but I am not just saying that because you are God." Well, I love the story of little Sashi. Soon after her brother was born, she began to ask her parents to leave her alone with a new baby. And they worried that, like most 4-year-olds, she might feel jealous and want to hit or shake him, so they said no. But she showed no signs of jealousy. She treated the baby with kindness, and her pleas to be left alone with him became more urgent, so they decided to allow it. Elated, she went into the baby's room, shut the door, but it opened a crack enough for her curious parents to peek in and listen. They saw little Sashi walk quietly up to her baby brother, put her face close to his, and say quietly, "Baby, tell me what God feels like. I'm starting to forget." I love that beautiful little story. Well, we can put God first in our lives in everything. Then we take hold of that fishhook called love. We surrender, falling into the divine presence, falling into love. When we surrender, when we stop trying to control everything, when we get out of the driver's seat and say, "Thy will be done," then all things become possible with God. Sometimes in surrender, we are shattered. The nature of falling means sometimes we get hurt. It's not that God was not there. It's more like learning to walk. If our parents tried to catch us every time we were learning to walk as babies, we would never have taken our first step. But that first step is necessary, and then we take the leap, falling into God, surrendering our whole selves, being caught by the fishhook of love. In unity, we teach that God's will is absolute good, and that God's will is for us to awaken to that good according to our own free will. The fact that God's will is absolute good must be woven into the very fabric of our thoughts and feelings and become the basis of our decisions. The more pressing question for most of us is not what God's overall or long-term will is for us. Even those whose concept of God is that of a stern and wrathful deity believe that the Creator ultimately wants good for everyone. It's just that to many people, it's conditional good, based on their completing a fear-filled walk along a very narrow path. Any slip forebodes eternal damnation. But that is not a unity belief. The more pressing question regarding God's will is for more specific instructions. What should I do now? I'm having so much trouble taking care of my sick father, but I feel guilty about putting him in a nursing home. What is God's will? Or I have an offer for a much better job, but it requires relocating and my children don't want to go. What is God's will? I've had my home for sale for a year and I can't sell it. What is God's will? I've been in a relationship for 2 years. I want to get married, but she doesn't. What is God's will? My daughter just got a divorce, is begging to move back home with me, and I'm not sure I want her to. What is God's will? You know, these are our daily challenging questions, the decisions that face us every day. It seems when we reach our wits' end, when our thinking and reasoning can't take us any further, we want to know God's will. But we can ask ourselves seriously, even if God did tell us in a loud voice what to do, would we listen? Would we always follow instructions? God, what can I do? My neighbor's driving me crazy every day. What would we do if God boomed out the answer in stereophonic sound? Love your neighbor as yourself. We may tend to be like the man in that old story where he fell off a cliff, but managed to grab a tree limb on the way down. The following conversation ensued. Is anyone up there? I'm here. I am God. Do you believe in me? Yes, Lord, I believe. I really believe. But I can't hang on much longer. That's all right. If you really believe, you have nothing to worry about. I'll save you. Just let go of the branch. A moment of pause, then. Is anyone else up there? Sometimes we tend to look for outside answers to inside problems. It's human nature to see the problem as something out there that is interfering with our happiness. We find ourselves asking friends, neighbors, and loved ones for answers. We may even seek professional counseling if the pain is severe enough. What should I do? And we can get all kinds of advice. But when we turn it over to God, to Spirit, we can be amazed at how much easier things become. Matthew 11:29 says, "Take my yoke upon you, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." Surrendering to God's will is letting God solve the problem through us. Meister Eckhart said, "God is ready to give great things when we are ready to give up everything." Anthony DeMello said, "To love God with one's whole heart means..." Excuse me, I have some outside interference for a minute. They are mowing the lawn outside. So God is playing tricks with us today. All right, Anthony DeMello said, "To love God with one's whole heart means to say a wholehearted yes to life and all that life brings with it. To accept without reservations all that God has ordained for one's life. To have the attitude that Jesus had when he said, 'Not my will, but yours be done.' To love God with one's whole heart is to make one's own the words, 'For all that has been, thanks. To all that shall be, yes.'" You know, when I think of this saying, "Not my will, but God's will," or "thy will," I think, not my willfulness, but my willingness. Because there's truly only one will. It's just a higher or lower expression of it. So not my willfulness, but my willingness. So this week, first, let's practice the presence of God by seeing the good in all people, all situations and experiences that show up. When we look for the good, we find God everywhere. We simply have to look. 2, let us practice surrendering our troubles, our point of view, and any false beliefs to God. Turn them over. Say, "Thy will be done." Or, "My willingness be done." In prayer, 3, in prayer meditation, let us seek to know God as love. Let us fall into God, into the net, the arms, the wings, the comforting presence of the divine by surrendering to love. And when we do, we will discover that God was never hiding, but was there all the time, simply waiting. And we can expect something wonderful. God bless you. Have a wonderful, fabulous week.